Welcome to Career Pro Tips by Life in the Green Room. Career Pro Tips is a weekly video series where we dive into a tip, tactic, or strategy that you can apply today to help you take ownership of your career. Life in the Green Room is all about helping busy professionals who want more out of their career. We provide action-oriented, tool-based plans that give you something tangible that you can do to help you get unstuck or feel less frustrated and start driving your career in the direction that you want. My name is Heather Green McLinn, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing at a Fortune 500 company. I've used these tools and I've seen my team and my peers use them. I know that they can work for you to help you feel like you can have some control over what's going on in your career. This week, we're at episode 16, and we are going to dive into It's Not My Job. It's not my job is such a cringeworthy expression for me. It is like nails on the chalkboard. I get very frustrated when people throw this up when an issue comes up. And it actually really has very little to do with if that statement is true or not. It's for me much more about the attitude. I really want somebody who's a team player and wants to dive in and try to fix issues when they come up. I don't want somebody who's always trying to throw something over the wall or pass the buck. And so what I want to talk about today is what to do when you want to say it's not my job. Look, I hate that expression and I still sometimes want to say it. And so what is the right thing to do when something comes up that's probably not your job? It's probably factually correct. How do you tackle that issue and still feel like you're trying to do the best thing for the business and you're trying to be a team player? So I'm going to dive into 3 tips that I have for you to tackle or to address whenever this comes up in your work. The first one I want you to think about is who could be the potential owner. The second thing I want you to think about is what's the root cause of this issue. And the third thing is to think about what should actually be done. So let's start with the first one, is who should potentially be the owner. If it's a clear person that should own it or a department, I would start by having a conversation with that person and say, look, this issue came up across my desk. I believe it belongs in your function. How would you like me to handle it? Can I pass it to you? What's going on? And you're going to get a variety of responses, but that's where I would start. If it's an issue that is murky and vague and you're not sure who owns it, I would think about, are there 3 or 4 different people who could potentially own it? And if so, try to get those 3 or 4 together for 15 minutes and have a little bit of a meeting on it. I don't want you to think you need to have a full-blown hour to go tackle this, but get those few people and start pinging around what needs to be done. And that's really how you could start the process with the first step of who should own the issue. The second step is what is the root cause? The root cause is likely going to be something like you've got a system error, you've got a process error, a training error, a quality error. There's a million different things that are going to be at the root of the system, and that's going to be really important for you to figure out. So with that group of 4 people or the person who's the potential owner, start thinking about, okay, what could have caused this from the beginning? Meaning, if I don't ever want to have this issue come up again, what needs to happen so that everything is under control? And start framing that out. Then the third piece of the what to do when you really don't think it's your job is to figure out what should be done. So maybe your root cause is a really big system issue that's going to cause a lot of programming and it's a big effort, and this problem comes up twice a year. So there's probably in that case going to be a short-term and a long-term fix. Your short-term fix may be some type of workaround, some way to address the issue that you have at hand so everybody can go about the business of adding value to the company and not getting stuck on one small issue. And the long-term fix may be something that never gets done. And maybe you end this by somebody documenting and communicating, when this comes up, this is the workaround we have in place. It's not ideal, but the only way we know how to fix it at this point is very resource intensive. And that can be it. Now, if the issue is the long-term fix takes some work, but this is a very problematic issue, then you have to kind of escalate it to the right members of the company to have the discussion around priorities. How should this be addressed? Maybe everybody is fully booked and you can't take on another big project right now. I get it. Nobody has an abundance of resources waiting to tackle a new problem that isn't on their list. So you could come to a clear agreement that short term, we use this workaround and this is who does it and communicate it. And long term, we see if we have bandwidth in the future as projects finish to take this one on. That's actually a perfectly appropriate answer. You haven't ignored the problem, you haven't said it's not my job, and you have an idea of what is going on. I don't like when people say it's not my job, but please be clear that I'm not suggesting to you that you take on every problem that comes across your entire company because you don't want to say it's not my job. That is not going to set you up for success either. That is going to burn you out. It's going to give you challenges to be productive. You're going to be stuck spinning your wheels on so many projects that you can't actually get anything over the finish line. So that's why I wanted to share these tips as far as something comes across your desk. You don't want to ignore it. You don't want to yell, it's not my job, and toss it over the wall. How can I address this in a productive way so that we know how we're handling this as a company, but still focus on the key priorities that we've decided? This is, I think, your best bet. You can have some quick meetings with who should be the owner, what is the root cause, what are the short and long-term fixes, and if it's truly long-term, then we put a workaround in place that everybody knows about. And to wrap this all up with a bow, please communicate. If you have this really good discussion and you guys decide on a process or a protocol of what to do for the short term and the long term, and nobody knows about it, and in 6 months go by and the same thing comes up and you have to have the exact same meeting, we've missed something. So take the extra 15 minutes or half an hour to type up a Word document or an email and send this around to all the parties so you can go on to the new issues. There's gonna be tons of them. That's what happens at work. So I hope that you take this to heart. And the next time something pops up that you're like, man, this is not my job, there's a few things that you can do to address this issue and help the company. I cannot wait to hear how you have tackled this issue. And I'd love to know what are the cringeworthy expressions that you have at your office. Leave me a comment below. And if you like getting weekly career pro tips, please subscribe. Until next week, here's to owning your career journey.